Hi folks, and welcome to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. And it is December 1st, 2017, or 12/1/17, or if you do your calendars wrong, 1/12/17. And this is going to be a quick, kind of a monthly update wrap up of November. Now, I don't have a whole lot to talk about because any new kits I got, I covered in my stuff I got in the mail video earlier in the month. And I'm still pretty much working on the same kits, but I have made some progress. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the kits I've got going right now. And I'll tell you what I think about them so far. That's kind of the objective here, is to tell you what I think of the kit thus far in the build and, maybe the painting process. So, come on, let's take a look. Alright, first up, and what's actually on the bench right now, is the Asuka model M4A1 mid-production. As you can see, not much contents in the box except for the tracks that have been painted and are awaiting weathering and installation. And here is the kit so far. My thoughts on the kit so far is this is the first Asuka / Tasca kit I've built, and I have to say that I really am impressed with the kit. Now, the kit that I got, as I've mentioned before, it notes on the box that it's a highly accurate blah blah blah, does not include decals or photo etch parts. So I didn't add any photo etch to this. In talking to some people who build these kits, I could have replaced the light guards with photo etch, but I just kind of wanted to build it straight out of the box, just to see what an Asuka kit was like out of the box. And I guess these are, the scale thickness is kind of a bit much on the headlight guards, but they're a lot thinner than some other brands, like for example Tamiya. They can be really thick and kind of shaped kind of weird on this curved part at the top. Sometimes those can have a really weird kind of elongated bit. It's thicker from front to back than the side, so that's kind of weird. But anyway, I wanted to build it from the box. The only thing I changed, and it's because I just wanted to use it because I've had it for a while, is I put an aluminum barrel on here. And it's a really nice barrel, and I wanted to use it on something because I bought it for another kit, but it didn't fit. It was the wrong thing, but fits really nice on here, and it looks good. The kit barrel, it was a two-piece, and once I sanded it, it looked pretty good, but again, I just wanted to use that barrel there. So I bought an aftermarket decal kit. I mentioned that in one of the earlier videos, and the decals worked fine. As you can see, they settled in pretty nicely. Looked pretty good, especially on this textured turret I did. I did extra cast surface on here with Mr. Surfacer 500, which I highly recommend. And I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but it's the second time I've used this stuff, and it really works well. It does a good job making cast texture, and I was afraid that using something like that would be kind of uncontrollable, but it actually is quite controllable. You put it on there, and then you just stipple it, and you can smooth out parts, and you make some parts chunkier, and then once it's all done, any coarseness, you can either buff it down with like some fine sandpaper, or another way is to use lacquer thinner on a brush and just brush it across there before it fully cures, and it'll smooth out any of the rough spots and give you a nice cast texture. So some good stuff. I like it. But as for the kit itself, it fits together great. I've not had one fit issue to speak of. It just all went together really well. The detail's really good without having an excessive amount of parts. Maybe different on different kits, but I do have another one to work on later, but that's going to be down the road, probably a couple of months. But the detail's really nice. The accuracy, I'm not an expert on these things, but the accuracy is supposed to be really nice, really close to the real deal. So, you know, I like it. Now, the decal set I got, they're pretty good, and it, like I said, they went down on here pretty, pretty nicely. They're a little bit high here, but I think once I get some, weathering and stuff done, and then, maybe put another clear coat on it, it'll be fine. On the back for the engine deck, I opted to use the decal that came with the decal set was huge. I mean, if it was touching the back of this right here, it would have overlapped and went off the ends of the deck. I mean, it was huge. So I opted for an Archer dry transfer here, and those are really nice. They are ultra flat on the surface of the kit, and so when you do weathering, you're not going to have any weird carrier film edge along the decal. So anyway, that's the kit so far. I've already put a wash on it. I've done a little bit of light dry brushing on some of the stuff to bring out the highlights, but I'm going to start doing some oil rendering, or whatever you want to call it, oil work with the Abteilung brand oils. Mainly be using like a buff, maybe light mud, because it's supposed to be a desert vehicle, and I want to make sure it's or dry climate vehicle, and I want to make sure it's not muddy looking, but that it's kind of dusty and dirty. So I'll be doing that, doing some streaking, and then doing a overall misting of a buff sand color to give it a really dusty appearance. I'm not putting any extra stuff on it, like I'm not putting a lot of stowage or anything like that. This one's just going to be, again, right out of the box, with the exception of that barrel. So far so good. I like the kit, and it's really working out well. So that's it on the Asuka M4A1. So let's take a look at the next kit. The next kit I'm working on is the Bronco Sturmgeschütz 3 Ausführung E that I'm doing as a buddy build with Peter of Peter's Plastics. Peter's Plastic. Man, I just went blank. Anyway, Peter Person. I'm doing a buddy build with this. I've recommended his channel on some of my other videos. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's a really good video. He's a really nice guy, and we're doing this buddy build together. He had bought this kit some months back, maybe even longer than that. I had mentioned that I thought it was a neat kit, and I'd really like to try one. He said, well, let's try a buddy build. And I said, all right, let's do it. So I ordered it, and we started it, and this is where I am so far. The Bronco kits, they can be notorious for their, as some people put it, over-engineering and a lot of small, tiny, fiddly, as they say, parts. This kit, however, is not really like that. The detail is really, really nice, but they've molded on some detail that might have otherwise been separate pieces, but not lost any of the detail of the kit. So, like, some kits, they'll have you gluing on hinges and stuff like that, but, these are molded on. These parts here are even molded on. Sometimes those come as separate pieces, so they were kind of smart in the way that they molded this kit, and it works really well. Now, as you can see, and it's not as noticeable in person, it's really weird. I didn't really notice it too much. I noticed a little bit, but not too much, until somebody mentioned it to me. But the difference in color between this plastic and this plastic is pretty prominent on video. It's weird. I just don't notice it as much sitting here looking at it. But I guess, there's components from this kit that are in other kits as well. But as far as the fit, everything is fit together perfectly. The front end, you got to be, pretty diligent in making sure that everything fits together well. I did do just a very slight amount of trimming on this upper part, this upper hole part here, right along here and here, so it would fit down a little bit further, so the weld line will line up properly. and I was able to get that pulled off pretty well. But other than that, everything else is fitting together really well. There's no problems. The detail is really nice. There are a few, like right here you can see a sinkhole and one there. This one should probably be filled because the open idler you could see potentially down in there. But that's really the only ones I noticed was here and here. So overall, it's a really nice kit. I would definitely recommend it. And as again, as a Bronco kit, I built a Staghound a couple of years ago, and it had some really tiny parts, and it was quite challenging. I mean, it was doable, and it was one of the earlier kits that I built after getting in the hobby, and I was able to pull it off. But this one here, I would say even a beginner could build this kit. The photo etch, there's enough to add some nice detail without just using photo etch for photo etch's sake. There's too many kits that they'll do a photo etch part when it's not really necessary, and it can take a little away of a little bit from the enjoyment of building the kit, at least for me. But there's not much, and it's easy to work with, and I can get frustrated with photo etch pretty easily, but I have not had any problems with the photo etch on this kit. One thing I did do was I had to bend this piece here in order for it to match the contour of the top. Otherwise it kind of stuck straight up weird because I wanted this thing closed. I did, as I mentioned in an earlier video, it comes with a metal barrel, and it also comes with a plastic barrel. Now, I opted, just for strength's sake, and I mentioned it in that video, I opted to use this part metal because it's so crisply molded. It's a really nice molded part. I use this part, and then the plastic, the styrene part, to give it strength where it glues onto here. Because I've knocked parts off of photo etch parts just because sometimes CA glue just doesn't stick that great for some reason. So I have to do that on this, and it gives you a nice solid connection, but gives you this nice metal barrel. The plastic barrel, it really was nice, and a person could use it, but since it came with it, I opted to do it that way. So the only other thing, as you can see, there's some white plastic here. These trays that the antennas fold down into, they were pretty badly warped on the sprue, and when I cut them from the sprue, they were still warped. So instead of trying to use those or trying to straighten them, I did kind of monkey around. I thought, you know what, it'd be just as easy to build some of these, and I did scratch build these, and use the kit supplied photo etch parts, and I describe how I build these in one of the earlier parts of the Stug build. I think it was part 4, but they turned out nice. They look really close, and once I get paint on it, you'll never know the difference, I don't think. So good kit, fits together well, really like it, but I'm putting it on hold for now so my buddy Peter can get caught up. He's a few steps behind me, and I don't want to outrun him, get too far ahead. So this one's on the back burner while I work on the M4A1 for now, and then once he catches up, then we'll start working on it together again. So Peter, no hurry, man. I got other projects to work on, so take your time and just stay in contact via messaging, and we'll get rolling on this again. So that is the Bronco Stug 3. So let's go on to the next kit. Alright, the next kit that you've seen plenty of times on my channel is the Tamiya M10 Tank Destroyer mid-production. This is part of my beginner series, building a model from a photograph, and this is the photograph that I am using. So typical Tamiya kit, it's going together great, no sweat, no problems, but I am making some modifications to match the photo. For example, generally the grousers are stored on the vehicle in this horizontal manner, but in this particular photo and other photos of some other M10s, not many but some, they're stored vertically. So I modified and built a new rack and got some aftermarket resin or not resin, but 3D printed grousers to put on the sides. Those work really well, and I would recommend them, except I can't remember what the name of that stinking place is. Crazy. So, the next thing I have done to match the photo is I built a storage rack in the back for jerry cans, tarps, ration boxes, whatever. So I scratch built that, and I talk about it in one of my videos, and built that and put it on there. Also, an awesome bloke by the name of Harold Adams sent me, and I don't have them in my drawer right now for some crazy reason, but he sent me the correct tracks to match this particular kit. The kit tracks are the block type. I can't remember the numerical designation right now, but it actually takes the T48, I believe, rubber chevron tracks. So he sent me a set of those, some Dragon DS T28 tracks for this kit. In addition to that, he also sent me this very nice, and I talk about it in one of my other videos a long time ago, Squadron Signal Publications M10 Tank Destroyer in Action. Has some excellent photographs, including a rear shot, so I could see how these things were kind of mounted on here and what was actually in there. So, you know, again, Harold, I hope you're watching this. If not, I'll be shooting you a message. But thanks again for supplying that stuff, because that's really going to help push this kit over the edge as far as, you know, the way I want it to turn out. So, this is how far I've gotten. Base paint is on there. Now, the one part I am waiting for, and it should be here next week, is a hedgerow cutter. Now, originally, I thought I needed something entirely different than what I'm going to be putting on here. And looking at the photograph, it shows a three-prong hedgerow cutter, and I found some photos online of three-prong hedgerow cutters, actually some nice ones, and I was going to scratch build one out of styrene. But when I started really getting down to it and making patterns with cardboard and stuff like that, and started cutting out the plastic, I thought, you know what, hold up a second. Yeah, there's 3 prongs here, but there should be 4. The other is covered by this bush or bit of tree or whatever it is. This one, these 2 here are more. Actually, I think it's a 5. I can't remember which one I ordered, but in looking at other photographs, it's not a 3-prong. So I think it's 5. 2 angles and then 1 solid one in the middle. So that saved me having to scratch build one. I have one on the way, and it should be here next week. It is from the Tank Workshop, and it was a nice piece, it looks like, in the photographs, and it was not very costly. So I've got that on the way. I bought a weapon set. I think it's Academy weapon set to supply this part here. I've got fuel cans. I've got some sea ration boxes that I'm going to talk a little bit about whenever I actually get ready to put them on there. I'm going to discuss how they're assembled and everything else. But these are nice little sea ration boxes, as you can see, printed. They have score marks in them, so it makes it easier to fold them together. But they're good little boxes, and that'll add a little bit to this. Don't have any figures yet. I think I finally found a set of figures I want to try, because it does have a sitting guy, but I may have to do some head swaps and, you know, stuff like that to make sure we have I want to duplicate this as closely as possible without it getting too, you know, scratch buildy like. But, you know, these 2 guys, this guy here, are all wearing the M1 helmets, and as well as this guy, and then you've got this guy back here wearing a tanker helmet. So that's where I am on this kit. again, it's coming together nicely. It's just taken quite a while. This is one of the kits that's taken me the longest, just because of all the extra stuff. There's some tarps and stuff that I'm going to be scratch building, and I'm going to talk about that on my video since it is my beginner series. But I'll put those together and move along on that. So those are the kits that I have on the bench right now that I'm actively working on, or have just set them aside until either a part comes in, or in the case of the stew, Peter Person catches up. So that's what I've got going on the bench so far. So let me change around here and give you my final thoughts before I call it quits on this video. So that's what I've got going on. The M4A1, the Stug 3 by Bronco, and the Tamiya M10 Tank Destroyer. All great kits. Almost just frazzled myself out. I've got too many going. I didn't mention the FW190 again that I've been working on for quite a while. It's still waiting for primer, but I need these ones that are already painted and getting closer to completion. I want to get all this stuff done, cleared off the bench. Then I'll jump on that and start working on that some more, because I've got some other nice kits lined up that I want to work on, but I don't want to start anymore until I get these done. It's just grates on my brain to have too many items going at one time. So that's what I've got going on right now. If you guys have any questions or comments, put them down below. But yeah, that's it. That's what I'm working on right now, and I hope you enjoyed the comments. I wanted, just instead of showing what I was working on, I wanted to give a little insight to the kits and how well or how poorly they go together. And in this case, all three for three, they're all going together very nicely. And it's, through no skill of my own. I mean, it's, they're well-designed kits. All three of them, three different manufacturers, and all three of them are really well-designed and are going together really well. So, for any of the beginner people that watch my videos, you'd be set on any one of these. They're well within the capabilities of even a beginning modeler. There's nothing complex or weird going on, no fit issues, no tricky stuff you have to do to get stuff to work. It's just all working. So, hopefully that's helpful for you. So anyway, that's it for Plastic Models by a Regular Dude for the end of November recap, beginning of December update and what's coming up kind of thing. So stay tuned. I'll have some more videos up on the M4A1 probably by the beginning of next week, with a little bit more progress as far as weathering. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to get quite a bit done, being the weekend, but we'll see. It's the busy time of year, so things can get kind of hectic. So as always, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. I hope you enjoyed this video this time. Tried to be a little more informative than just talking about what I'm doing. So anyway, that's it for now. Again, questions, comments below if you've got them. And as always, take care, and I will see you next time.